would it be really good for you to unpack a little bit around how genetic counsellors, we've talked about the educative component, how they do help with that emotional impact. I was recently really impressed here in Melbourne. I went to a genetic counselling session with a new community member to me, and I was really impressed how the genetic counsellor had follow up and kind of worked with that person with where they're at, because this was a disappointing result for that person. And I was really impressed with how they read this person's individual needs and had the follow up. I'd be really interested to hear from you that emotional support around the impact.
Yeah, and I think it's such a challenging part of the role, but a really, I guess, rewarding part for the genetic counselor is helping people through that really emotional time. I think particularly from as genetic counselors, what we try and do, I guess, essentially just sit with the emotion, right? Because I think in a lot of spaces, people find that they're not allowed to express their emotions,
Mm.
right? And particularly in healthcare, potentially it's not something that is routinely done. And so I guess we really try and create a safe space for people to feel like they can share the emotions. And then we can kind of see from that, how are they coping with this? And we talk through sort of in general, if we put the genetics to the side, what does support look like? Does it look like talking to family and friends? Does it look like going for a walk with the dog? Does it look like playing computer games? Whatever it is that is their sort of how they cope with difficult situations, we want to try and explore that so that when potentially we have to give a result that is quite difficult, we have that understanding and can say, look, I remember last time we spoke that this is something that you do when you're incredibly stressed. And so is that something that you feel is going to be helpful in this moment, particularly in the setting for Huntington's? We have quite a lot of flexibility with these appointments, right? And I guess I'm thinking about a family that I've seen recently where we had a first appointment, and that first appointment, there was no obligation to go ahead with any sort of genetic testing at that appointment. And we spent the whole hour just talking about what it was like, sort of experiencing Huntington's in their family, talking about the family dynamics, how it impacted who they talk to within their family and who they don't, and how it strained some relationships and strengthened others, right? And it was just this opportunity to talk through, I guess, the emotional impact that Huntington's has had on their family, and particularly their immediate family unit. So just say their partner and their kids. And at the end of that appointment, we said that was really great. And so now, say in a month's time, we're going to meet again, or in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to meet again. And then at that point, we can talk through, say, is the genetic testing itself something that you want to go ahead with, right? So we've got that flexibility to essentially meet whatever needs they have in that moment, rather than being prescriptive and saying, well, in this first appointment, we have to talk about genetic testing.
Which is really important, because with Huntington's, and I'm sure it's the same with other genetic illnesses, you feel as though you don't have control with the
Mm.
process, and that there's this disease and this genetic condition that's impacting your life, and things are spiraling. It's really good to know that meeting with a genetic counsellor, the control is with you, and you can speak to the counsellor about what your comfort areas are and not, and sort of those sessions are your own, and you can take them
Mm.
wherever you need to, is really what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I guess it, as genetic counselors, obviously, we really focus on sort of the impact that the genetic condition is having on the family or the individual. But understanding all of that other stuff is really helpful for us as well to say, okay, so if, for example, we go ahead with genetic testing, it comes back with a result that you're not hoping for, what's that going to look like in all aspects of your life? And it gives us that opportunity to really help look at things from different perspectives and understand, how is this information going to be helpful for you? Okay, this is information that I do want to know at the moment, or actually, based on what we've spoken about, because we've spoken about it from so many different angles, it's not information that I want to know at this current time, right? And it helps us to say, okay, it's really clear that this is sort of the path that you feel like is best for you at the moment.